Hi, make sure you get the bug girl some shots. Andrew, and this is Gayties Toys. On today's MIA 80s ladies, she is beauty, she is grace, she is Queen Slug-For-A-Butt from Earthworm Jim, which was a video game in 1994, as well as a cartoon and action figure line in 1995. Queen Slug-For-A-Butt, of course, would be in the second wave, but we never received her, and still haven't. Earthworm Jim as an entity is incredibly interesting in, the landscape of toys and media. Playmates, high off their own supply from Ninja Turtles, from Star Trek, had money in the bank, and they wanted to start their own franchise to sort of, carry them forward once Ninja Turtles and Star Trek started to wind down. For this case, they went to Shiny Entertainment and said, we're looking to make a video game and then produce the cartoon and the toys from there, which was a very rare thing. In fact, probably the only time that's ever really happened specifically. The Earthworm game itself, the first one anyway, was a huge success. It had a very great, shooting pattern, great characters, great humor, and probably more impressive was the art style. Shiny Entertainment, sort of unbeholden to franchisees telling them to tone things down, just went hog wild with the art style. And you can see that with definitely the production of, pamphlets, photos, marketing materials, but the game itself was just stunning. And the two characters we're going to talk about today technically would be Queen Slug-For-A-Butt, who would be sort of like the main villain, the final boss, as well as her sometimes sister, sometimes niece, sometimes whatever, Princess What's-Her-Name, who was a send-off for all the other princesses who, in video games, who didn't really matter to the plot. In the first game, Queen Slug-For-A-Butt, again, was the final boss. She had kidnapped Princess What's-Her-Name for reasons, and why Jim even wanted to get Princess What's-Her-Name is kind of vague as well. She wasn't really developed as a character. In fact, we didn't even see her until the very last cutscene after defeating Queen Slug-For-A-Butt. Jim was about to approach her, madly in love with her, but then a cow that he had launched into the air several levels before finally landed on her. Princess What's-Her-Name was much more fleshed out in the second game. They sort of gave her more of a voice, not the most attractive voice, we'll say. She was a little flighty, a little arrogant, a little money hungry, and she sort of seemed to think that Jim had money, so she was all on board with that. Queen Slug-For-A-Butt, however, was just yet another of the mustache-twirling villains, which, is fine, and very much what happened when the cartoon released. She was very much, just with all the other villains who saw this random worm who got hold of a robotic suit, and they wanted that suit for their own, evil purposes. Princess What's-Her-Name would get more character development in subsequent games from Earthworm Jim 1. However, in the cartoon, she got a real makeover. Aside from being, ditzy and money-hungry, she turned into what I call, let's say, 90s feminism. And if you want sort of a definition of that, in the 70s, male writers of comic books thought that feminism was angry bitch. If you'd like an example, Miss Marvel from Marvel Comics was that bitch, just man angry all the time. By the 90s, male writers of, say, cartoons wanted, the scrappy chick who had a chip on her shoulder, who wasn't really, mad at men, but was kind of, above them. So Princess What's-Her-Name certainly fit that bill. In fact, in Season 1, Earthworm Jim thought they were in a relationship. She was completely oblivious to it, or at least acted like she was oblivious to it. By Season 2, it seemed someone started to meddle, almost Janine Melnick's Ghostbuster style, and she became much more of his romantic lead. So, she had a bit of an evolution. Meanwhile, Queen Slug-For-A-Butt, largely, just mustache-twirling villain, and that really worked well when you had Andrea Martin voice her. To coincide with the cartoon launching in 1985 was the action figure line by Playmates. The whole purpose of this whole thing to begin with. Playmates really went hard on this. They did, they had Varner Studios on speed dial after Ninja Turtles, Toxic Crusader, so many other toy lines made by that studio, which are all fantastic, if not terribly articulated. In the first wave, Princess What's-Her-Name was there, and this is where I usually, kind of say I don't really blame Playmates for anything. When there's no female action figures in the line, they're good for it. They, proved through Ninja Turtles, through Star Trek, they had no problems making women. While Toy Biz, Hasbro, other companies were sort of, whinging about it and shaking their jelly, throats over it. Playmates said, We got Turtles money. We got Star Trek money. We don't care. We have no risk aversion to making women. And so to the fact that Princess What's-Her-Name was there, front and center, great looking figure, and then had Queen Slug-For-A-Butt right there in Wave 2. We saw the mock-ups, we saw the whole wave essentially. It's great to have this kind of information available to us. However, the problem might be with you, and me, and maybe our moms. By all accounts, Playmate was in. I mean, they spent the dime, the time, they did all the stuff, to get this franchise going. But frankly, I mean, it was probably sales. The cartoon did last for, a short 2 seasons, not a lot of episodes per season, but at least 2 seasons, which is a marker of success, especially at this time. Some people have claimed that, there was royalty rights to Shiny Entertainment. I'm not sure who even owns it. I mean, even currently, it's owned by Interplay. I don't know how it got from point A to point B, if they are the same company with different names. I'm not a lawyer. This is my realm of expertise, as it is. Nevertheless, I didn't buy the figures, you didn't buy the figures, your mom, your aunt, whoever else didn't buy the figures. So, Wave 2 was never to come to pass. However, in 2022, Premium DNA Toys had announced that they had the Jim license and were going to make figures based off of that. They themselves are a little controversial, and you can go see other videos about that. Nevertheless, I had bought their Mad Balls, and they are fantastic. So there's that. They included Jim, some of the villains that were never made from Wave 2, such as Professor Monkey for a Head. As of time of recording, they have released these figures. They're shipping right now as I speak. I, once again, like in 1995, did not purchase them, but they look great. I mean, they really do look great, and time will tell if the line continues. I would imagine if they did do a Wave 2, Princess What's-Her-Name would probably be in there, but it would be great to see the Queen, as she is, in that line. That said, I would hope for a more deluxe Queen. The original Playmates version, she had a healthy butt, but not the butt we needed. So if if they went to Super 7 route and just charged double for just a huge inflatable can, I'd be all over that. And that's really it for Queen Slug-For-A-Butt. I mean, kind of a pretty standard villain, maybe the big boss of some video games, but I think she sort of got, sidelined by Psychro, who became much more of a bigger villain and nemesis to Earthworm Jim. Nevertheless, just a great character, a complex, if not confusing, relationship with Princess What's-Her-Name. Very big, like, Ninja Turtles villains vibe. I've always really enjoyed her, and I remember seeing her toy and on catalogs or on the internet and just thinking like that would have been fun. Like it would have been a fun, silly thing to go with Earthworm Jim. All that said too, I'm always eager to see if anyone wants to pick up vintage license and create new things the way that Trick or Treat's doing with Toxic Crusaders. So you never know, but as it stands now, you can get new Jim figures. If you want more, I would suggest supporting that at your risk or leisure, depending on how you look at things. But it's an exciting time after, video games have stalled so many decades on an actual Jim revival. At least the toys are coming out. So I thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time on MIA 80s Ladies.